So I think white only and black only anything is evil and wrong. That's why I hate critical theory and critical race theory, because when it's put in practice, you start to discriminate people based on race. So we're now south of the Mason-Dixon line in North Carolina. We did a lot of work to get rid of segregation in this country. Why are you trying to bring it back?
What work?
The Civil Rights Act of 1964.
In this state?
Yeah, actually, in this state. Are there black-only bathrooms out there I'm unaware of, or white-only bathrooms?
Nah.
Right. A lot of work was done in this state.
Fuck you, your face is small.
What's up, YouTube? Hope you guys are feeling good. Today, guys, we're back on to a new video. Today, we're going to be checking out Kirk destroys race-based students with facts. Okay, and logic. This is going to be amazing. According to Charlie, kick, because I love kicking us. Let's get right to this video, guys. Boom.
Okay. I just wanted to real quick ask you, can you clarify your definition of critical race theory?
Yeah, Derek Bell's. So what he wrote in 1991, Intro to Critical Race Theory. What's in that book?
The whole book is your definition.
How about this? The one I used. Call everything racist till you control it.
Oh, so wait, but then that literally means that critical race theory can mean basically anything you want it to, right? Like,
only if you're calling it racist till you control it. I mean, I'm defining critical race theory in the modern American context as that. We can go back to Herbert Marcuse, One-Dimensional Man, or Jacques Derrida, or Michel Foucault, but the most agreed upon academic theory is Intro to Critical Race Theory, 1991 by Derek Bell.
Yeah.
True.
Wait, but
Are you familiar with that literature?
well, yeah, I've read the book, but I don't remember anything about it. It was for like a college class. Like, let's be honest, nobody remembers the books they read in college.
Just you.
Sounds like a great value proposition to go to college.
No, it is. Trust me. But like, well, but you didn't go to college, so I guess you wouldn't know.
What?
True, I didn't.
So
let me ask you, though, does that mean that I'm not able to have this conversation with you? Because I actually remember the book and you didn't, and you paid for it.
Charlie does drop the mic on him.
So, first of all, I didn't pay for it. There's these things called scholarships.
Oh, so somebody else paid for you not to
Yes.
remember the book that you were supposed to read. Oh,
making a fool
some
of
wealthy
himself.
donor or taxpayer paid for you
Hey.
to not remember the book.
I have a question. Who are your wealthy donors?
Many of them are in this room. Thank you guys for your wonderful support, by the way.
Interesting.
We have over 130,000 grassroots donors at Turning Point USA, 130,000. I think we have some people in the back that chip in $5, $10, $15. God bless you, God bless you, God bless you, God bless you, God bless you. We are a grassroots funded operation. But let me give you another example. I'll give you 5 things that critical race theory believes. Number 1, the notion that racism is ordinary and everywhere. Number 2, the idea of interest convergence, otherwise known as intersectionality. Number 3, the social construction of race, meaning that there is a social construction around race in our society. The 4, idea of storytelling and counter storytelling. Number 5 is that no matter how hard you work, no matter how hard you do, you cannot remove racism from your society. Those are 5 pillars of critical race theory based on Derek Bell's Intro to Critical Race Theory. Does that ring a bell?
Yes, but like, okay, so let me stick with this. What do you think? Oh,
We'll edit that out.
Guys,
my
just
bad.
dumb
My
as
bad.
fuck.
Wait, am I not allowed to?
It's not encouraged.
Oh, okay, sorry. What was the third point? My mind is dying.
The social construction of race?
The social construction of race. Do you not think that race is at least partially socially constructed?
Depends how you define it.
So, like, what defines where one race ends and where one race begins?
Depends who you're asking. I think race is completely and totally irrelevant. Do you think race is relevant?
Thank you.
No.
Okay, then why are we talking about race all the time, and why are we talking about critical race theory?
Well,
Why are you guys
brought it
having
up
a
at
discussion?
first when you were doing your speech?
Right,
So,
remember I said it was a lie from the pit of hell that we should repudiate and stop talking about all the time? You're on scholarship?
sorry, what?
Nothing. Sorry, go ahead.
The young guy's making a fool of himself.
So, to answer your question, I don't think that race means anything, and I guess you don't either, right?
Yeah.
Right. So then, why do you keep bringing up race whenever you're on or speaking on a stage? I am not speaking on a stage bringing up critical race theory. You are.
No.
So.
I'm bringing up how critical race theory destroys society and how we shouldn't talk about race all the time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Big difference.
But you're bringing up race.
No, critical race theory, not race.
Okay, so what's the second word in that?
Yeah, it's race,
China's
but it's
really
a theory of how to
enjoying
view
this
race, of which is a mind virus pathogen destroying America, of which I said again, just to reemphasize for those in the back, we could replay the tape, we'd throw the red flag, we'll watch it over again. I said that what? Race means nothing. I care about your actions, your character, and most importantly, your soul. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Hi. To address your previous assertion that race means nothing, critical race theory is not being taught in schools. It is a academic theory that's pretty much delegated only to higher academia. They're not teaching it in schools. Your explanation of it was an oversimplification. You address the real history behind it, unlike most people. And why, if race means nothing, does it affect our history? Say 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. Why is there such evil history with something that supposedly means nothing?
Okay, so first of all, you're wrong. It is being taught in elementary schools. I'll give you an example. Not only is it being taught, it's being enforced. So in Denver, there is a playground where they say white families not allowed. Would you support that?
That seems like a ridiculous edge case.
So I'll give you another example. Actually, in the National Education Association's training manual, which is the largest teacher union in the country, they had a seminar on how to teach critical race theory to kids. That sounds like it's in our schools, doesn't it?
Sure.
What that is it's literally just common sense. It's saying that this is real history. This is what has happened in the past.
Right. So
And that matters.
Okay, got it. So, for example, would you say that black-only dormitories is wrong?
It certainly creates a sense of community. I don't see any problem with that. We have sororities. We have male-only dorms.
Right. So racial differences are irrelevant and immaterial. Chromosomal differences actually do matter. But let me ask you a question. Are there differences between races?
No, not biologically.
Then why would we have different dormitories for races?
Culture.
Segregation is what you're arguing for, my friend.
No, sir.
How is it not segregation to have blacks in their own dorm?
You've just pigeonholed me, essentially. You've essentially just you've distracted from my original argument.
No,
about
you
what
did that
does-
to yourself. Let's
If-
reemphasize. So
Okay.
Ibram X. Kendi argues, who is one of the leading thinkers of critical theory, race theory, discrimination today to atone for discrimination of yesterday. We have black-only graduation ceremonies at Columbia University, black-only dormitories across the country, for example, at Western Washington University. Can you join me today in saying black-only dormitories are evil, wrong, and it's segregation?
You still haven't answered my question about why does this history simultaneously mean nothing?
Well, I'm
And
happy to answer
also-
that, but the fact you're dodging segregation in America, why is that?
I'm arguing against segregation.
So you're against black-only dormitories?
Yes.
Well, you said it was a force of community, and then for your not for critical race
That's
theory.
an option. We have choice.
Oh, so you could
This guy's-
choose to segregate.
Shit.
That's a pigeonhole.
What do you think of white-only dormitories?
What?
Would you support white-only dormitories?
Everybody has a choice.
So I think white-only and black-only anything is evil and wrong.
True.
That's why I hate critical theory and critical race theory, because when it's
Which
put in
isn't being taught in
practice, you start to discriminate people based on race. So we're now south of the Mason-Dixon line in North Carolina. We did a lot of work to get rid of segregation in this country. Why are you trying to bring it back?
What work?
The Civil Rights Act of 1964?
In this state?
Yeah, actually, in this state. Are there black-only bathrooms out there I'm unaware of, or white-only bathrooms?
Nah.
Right. A lot of work was done in this state.
Fuck you. Your face is small.
That is from
Well,
the
thanks
left
for being here.
liberal.
They always go to insults when they lose the argument. God bless you, my friend.
Yeah.
Hi. I'm hoping that you could explain, without using a single buzzword or a conservative talking point, what CRT is.
So you want to go back to Herbert Marcuse, the Frankfurt School, Michel Foucault, Jacques Derrida,
I want you to
one-dimensional
answer
man?
my question.
No, I'm just asking you, how far back do you want me to go?
I want you to explain what CRT is.
What CRT is comes out of critical theory, which came out of the Frankfurt School, which is a belief that there are systems that exist both institutionally and systemically, and that through critical theory, which also has critical law theory, through the kind of the changing of how we view society must be through a racial lens and not through a economic lens or through a legal lens. And if you look very clearly at the writings of Marcuse, at the writings of Spinoza, especially in the early 1990s where this started to pop up, there was this idea that we must give preference based on the melanin content of people's skin, not on actions, not on choices, and instead, because America's so unequal, because it is so inequitable, that these writers and authors that were the beginning people that actually started this term critical race theory 50 or 60 years ago believed that this would be a true Marxist type movement that would help happen in this country. It was kind of fostered and started in many different universities across this country. Marcuse came from the Frankfurt School, and it really kind of comes back to the couple beliefs that CRT believes in, to make it overly simple. Number one, that there is no such thing as absolute truth. That number two, power dynamics are more important than anything else. Number three, skin color should be something that has a top priority in how we characterize people and their worth and their dignity. Number four, that kind of American history and kind of how we teach it is completely wrong. Five, that America is systemically racist, and I could continue from that. That right there is a 35,000-foot view. Happy to go deeper, but that is the history of critical race theory, and it's evolved into terms of wokeism, diversity, equity, inclusion, the idea of America being systemically racist, 1619 Project. They're all outgrowths of the postmodern deconstructionist type viewpoint that started in the 1960s from Marcuse, who was a Marxist type believer in the Frankfurt School, was expelled, found domicile here in America, and implemented in our colleges. How'd I do?
I do appreciate that response. Thank you. You did use the word wokeism, which is a conservative buzzword, unfortunately. I'm going to take my seat. Thank you.
How about this? How about this? Garbage.
Pure garbage.
Did you think that slavery and ensuing Jim Crow laws had a lasting impact on the black community in the United States?
Some, and that's a good question. So if you correlate all the impact of Jim Crow and slavery, I would say that you could generously say 26% single motherhood in the black community in the 1960s. So about 26% of all black babies born in the 1950s and 1960s were born to a single mother. Now it's 77%. So I would ask you, why did it jump 50 points, 50%, since the Civil Rights Act as America got significantly less racist?
So that's fine. I don't know why it jumped. Who cares? But
Well, it wasn't slavery or Jim Crow. It
No.
was something else.
So the only lasting impact that slavery had on the U.S. was that less black families had fathers.
No, not necessarily. But have you ever known anyone that's owned a slave?
No, but I know a few presidents who did.
You know them personally? So you know anyone that was ever a slave?
Well, no, because So okay, I don't know anyone who was a slave. So it had no impact?
No, it had some impact. The question is, did it have an impact that is measurable and significant enough now in 2021, where we saw a key metric that influenced the livelihood of the black community, like single motherhood rate, that as America got less racist, all of a sudden now 77% of black babies are born without a father, where before it was 26%. And I suppose the question is this, because this is the question about systemic racism, right? What law that is in practice today actively discriminates against black people?
No.
So here's what I would say to that. The idea of capitalism and America, like you said, is it doesn't matter who you are, show me what you got, is fresh start. So what would happen if you had like 150 years in a country, for your family to build wealth, to own a house, to have a job, to get college education for your kids, to build generational wealth. And then you took another family who didn't have the opportunity to do any of that for 150 years, and then set them off on the same even starting point. Is that really an even starting point, and would that not result in some kind of systemic disadvantage for those people?
The black middle class was the fastest growing demographic in the 1940s and 1950s until the Great Society Act and that intervention. It's very tempting to do what you're doing. And I'm not faulting you for it, because you've probably been propagandized to believe it. And that's okay, because I think you're actually a victim in this case, because you've been misled to want to believe that things you never lived under, never understood, and that I think you are partially seeing had a disproportionate impact in the world that you're living in today. So for example, if that were to be true, then first-generation immigrants would not be able to quickly be able to make good choices and move up the ladder in this country, which I think we have some first-generation immigrants here tonight. Now, let me say this, that this idea that America is systemically racist to the core would also be quickly debunked by the fact that more blacks have legally immigrated to America since the 1980s than ever were here brought as slaves. Over 2 million blacks from the Caribbean and from Nigeria and from Western Africa have come here to America. So the question is, why is it that in every statistic that you could probably rattle off, are black people doing worse than white people? What is it? Well, I would point to the fact that fathers are not in the home, because it was 26% of black females in the 1960s were single mothers. Now it's 77%. If you look at the Brookings Institution, a liberal think tank, there are 3 things you need to do to stay out of poverty in America. Number 1, graduate high school. Well, because of public sector unions and the dominance of our government schools, that's harder than ever in far too many communities. Not just black communities, not just Hispanic communities. The second thing, get a job, any job. And the third thing is to obviously not to commit crimes, but to try to get married before you have children. And so some of what I believe has contributed to the downfall of some of these communities has nothing to do with white people with the neck on black people. Instead, it's the following. Fathers no longer being in the home, the rise of sexual anarchy that came in post-1960s liberalism that removed this idea of sex being confined to a marital relationship, to be gratuitous and everywhere. All of a sudden, you've seen an increase in not just the birth rate, but the single motherhood rate and abortion alongside of it. I would just ask this question, I'm just curious. How much do you think outputs are based on people's decisions, based on the advantages they're born into?
I mean, as someone who's taken Introduction to Sociology, your life is greatly influenced by what the conditions you're born into. But I promise this will be the last thing. Just, you say there's less fathers in the home of, many black families, and that's the issue. So what do you think is keeping fathers out of the home in those?
It's a great question.
Do you think it could be over-policing and police arresting, disproportionately?
We went through this, everybody.
Do you think it could be law enforcement disproportionately enforcing laws in black neighborhoods and arresting more black males than any other demographic?
So blacks are actually under-arrested and under-policed per the percentage of crimes they commit. We talked about some of those numbers. But let me tell you one thing in particular. In the Great Society Act, we decided as a civilization to subsidize single motherhood. In the 1960s, we told black women, you no longer need to be married to have children, you can get married to the government. And we saw a dramatic escalation and increase of the deterioration of the nuclear family and a replacement of that of the nanny state and the welfare state. And I would say this, that every single activist group that steps up, that talks about systemic racism and oppression, if you look at the data, purely the data, if there was a movement to put black fathers back in the home and to try and challenge the sexual anarchy that came in the post-1960s and had a more prudent and pious view of sexual relations in America, which is a very unpopular view, by the way, for most Americans, but it's true that before the 1960s, sexual relations were, at least culturally, supposed to always be confined to marital relationships. The more gratuitous that we have been in trying to catalog it in media and in pop culture and in Hollywood and, yes, in schools, then all of a sudden you have seen people say, well, why do I need to get married for that? Marriage is the bedrock institution, and strong families create strong communities, which create strong civilizations. And this is why immigrant communities that have come to America, and first-generation immigrants, they're able to move so quickly up the socioeconomic ladder, because they might not have wealth, they might not have big bank accounts, they might not own a lot of land, but they have the thing they know that will keep them together, which is a family that will not be broken up at any means necessary. I'll finally say this. Let me just say this. No, I want to thank you for coming, because it took courage to ask that question. I'm just going to ask you to do one thing. Please forget everything you learned in Introduction to Sociology 101, because it was likely all garbage. So thank you so much.
Given the concerns you've expressed about censorship and interference with free speech, I wonder how you view the laws in Florida and other states that restrict what professors can teach about racism in the classroom. I mean, obviously you disagree with the doctrines you teach, but why, would you extend to them the same right to free speech that you advocate for everybody else?
No, I mean, it's a matter of curriculum, right? So I would ask a question, should we teach the flat earth theory in physics, right? Should we teach bloodletting in biology? Should we teach lobotomies in medical school? Or should we teach eugenics in ethics? No, there's some ideas that are so reprehensible and provably wrong, they shouldn't be in anywhere close to an academic environment. Now, a professor obviously has the freedom of speech to say what he or she wants individually, but from a curriculum standpoint, from what you're able to measure or test, to say that all of a sudden we're going to teach that race matters, that somehow that people are suffering from a pandemic of whiteness, as Coca-Cola would say, or just critical theory or critical race theory, no, that has no place in an educational environment, because in an educational environment, it's less about really the opinion of the teacher or the opinion of the student. It's the pursuit of the soul and the entire being of the student towards truth, goodness, and beauty. And so you must have a teleological destination for that. Yes, a follow-up.
Well, just one follow-up, which is, so you would say that the idea that there's systemic racism in this country is as off base as the idea that the earth is flat, and as provably wrong as the idea that the earth is flat?
Yes, I mean, I would ask you, how are we systemically racist?
Well, I mean, we could have a long discussion about it, but I'm a journalist. I don't think it's a place for it, but possibly if you attended a class on it, you might get in a debate with the professor and see what their data shows, and whether it's a matter of scholarly dispute. I mean, there's a lot of books on both sides, or whether it's as, I'm not aware of a lot of scholarly, well-accepted books that advocate that the earth is flat. So I would say this is a matter of scholarly debate.
There was till Galileo came along.
Okay. Well, anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. And yeah, just to close it, yes, I think advocating for black-only dormitories is a moral equivalent of bloodletting, lobotomies, and flat earth theory. I think it's evil, it's wrong, and has no place in American education.
Sure.
Do you believe in Asian American privilege?
Hey, wealth doesn't mean power and privilege.
Do you believe in Asian American privilege?
I believe that there are a few people of certain races who have gotten very, very wealthy based on trade, based on the economic system that we have. I also believe that as a white man, I historically have an advantage over people who are of a color that is not my skin tone.
It's crazy for saying that.
This is evident from the slave trade, all the way up to Reconstruction, and all the way up to Jim Crow laws. I assume, based on your facial expression, that you have a report. I'm going to go ahead and let you make it.
So did we treat Asian Americans well in the 1940s and 50s?
We sure didn't.
So then how did they overcome that?
They overcame that through
Were they privileged?
having to work harder than white people.
Oh, so they worked harder and they were rewarded for it 60 years later.
How about people that work hard for like 350 years and didn't get any reward? Yeah.
Like who?
Slaves? Yeah, slaves.
What do you mean? Do you know anyone that's ever owned a slave?
Do I know anyone that's ever owned a slave?
Yes.
What does that have to do with that?
Has a lot to do with it.
What does that have to do with like...
Because if you make three big choices in America, you're guaranteed not to live in poverty. You know what those three choices are? Get married before you have kids, get a job, and graduate high school. You know what community does that at the highest rate? Asian Americans. That's why they're successful. We live in a meritocracy. You make good choices, you will be rewarded for those choices, irrelevant of your skin color. So when you say white privilege exists, good choice privilege exists.
Yeah, but I think white people reap a lot of benefits.
Name one benefit that white people that they benefit from this society, despite
Police
Asian.
treatment.
What?
Police treatment.
What about police treatment? That white people are more likely to be shot by a police officer than a black person's likely to be shot by a police officer? From the Federal Bureau of Investigation, a Department of Justice independent study of 300 independent police forces across the country. Facts must bother leftists because they always walk away as soon as you recite them.
You have a shit ton of leftists here who are still standing here.
Well, I've already made a couple leave, and I'm happy to keep talking.
Oh, you made a couple.
Well,
that's great.
No, but let's get back. Can you,
that's quantifiable evidence.
If white privilege exists, why are Asian Americans and Indian Americans wealthier, have higher incomes, live in better areas on aggregate than white Americans do?
I don't know.
Maybe because white privilege doesn't exist.
Maybe, or maybe
maybe it doesn't. Okay. Maybe skin color has nothing to do with it,
but
and choices have everything to do with it.
I disagree with that.
Then show me some evidence, because I just showed you some evidence that it doesn't exist.
What would you take as evidence? What counts for you?
Something that I just said, for example, that the wealthiest people in America, numbers would be nice, historical data, logic.
Testimony.
No, testimony means nothing. I don't care about anyone's version of truth. I care about evidence. I don't care about feelings. I care about facts.
Aren't most of these studies partially based on testimony, though?
No, when you say that Asian Americans are the richest people in America, that's math. That's looking at people's income. That's not testimony.
Okay.
Testimony would be a singular person saying, I've had a tough time. That would be testimony, which that might be true, but that doesn't make it true in the aggregate. I'm sorry?
Is there discrimination?
There's discrimination against all sorts of people.
Yeah, is it worse against black people or is it equal?
Depends what part of the country, it depends what situation. And when that exists,
So if you put it
there's
all
laws to
together,
put
which
people in
one-
prison.
If you put them all together, which race faces the most discrimination in this country?
I would say probably Hispanic Americans in certain parts of the country, even more so.
all of the
But I have no data to support that. You asked me some anecdotal question. I haven't done that much thinking about it. But I'll say this. In America, if you make a sequence of good choices irrelevant of skin color, you will be rewarded for those choices. We're one of the only countries in the world where that is possible, where you can have intergenerational ascension, where your kids can be better than how you are today.
That's like kind of a fallacy.
It's not a fallacy. That's why Asian
doesn't
Americans
apply to
entered.
everybody.
That's why Asian Americans entered in the 1940s as the poorest group in America, and they're now the richest group. The Constitution was not written in Korean. Yet they have benefited the most from what people call a white predominant society. Indian Americans, for example, from India, are the second richest per race.
Was the
category in
Constitution
America.
written in Hindi?
No, that's exactly the point.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Continue.
The point is that people say that our society is rigged for white individuals and white men. The evidence does not suggest that. There's twice as many white people living in poverty today than black people. Now, the rate for poverty in the black community is much higher, but the aggregate number is something that should not be ignored. So the misconception that our country is rigged just for people based on a certain skin color has zero evidence. Yet that is the predominant thing that is being taught in our universities.
When did it stop?
What do you mean?
When did it not be rigged anymore? Because it clearly used to be rigged. You're saying it isn't rigged now.
That's a fair point. I'd say throughout the 60s and 70s and 80s, as America got significantly less racist, as we passed the Civil Rights Act, things got more equitable in the sense where better decisions got rewarded more.
And you don't think that there could be a lag effect of 350 years of slavery and 100 years of Jim Crow?
I think those inequities have been more balanced out, more so than it's even worth considering that 350 years of inequity. For example, Asian Americans built the railroad system in America in the late 1800s, early 1900s in America. We put Japanese Americans in internment camps in the 1940s.
Yeah, I know. I've taken history class.
Jewish Americans had an extermination order against them in Europe in the 1940s. The point being is that,
taken history class.
right, so almost every racial ethnic group has had some form of suffering. So to point to something that happened a very, very long time ago and to attribute the inequity today to
It
that.
wasn't that long ago, though.
When was slavery abolished?
Slavery was abolished in 1808. The international slave trade was got rid of. But then we actually resorted to chattel slavery, which is where we bred them like cattle.
You're not going to hear me defend slavery for a second. No, I mean,
that's
it's
good because
it's one of the great sins of the American. It's one of the great sins of the American story. But you know what's also admirable about it? How we got rid of slavery.
Because admirable about slavery?
No. What's admirable about our history, not about slavery.
Okay. Thank you. But we still
Because
haven't dealt with like the repercussions.
What repercussions would that be?
The lack of the ability for certain people to accumulate wealth.
Such as who?
I don't know, like I was down in New Orleans, right, and I see all these mansions, and it's like those people, that old mansions, they made their money, they're probably slave owners. Then you go into a black neighborhood and it's like...
But they might have been slave owners in 1865
yeah, but they
when
have
the
that
American...
accumulated wealth that can compound versus people that don't have the opportunity.
Oh, okay, so you're making a fair point that there might be intergenerational inequity. How do you go about that? Well, some people on the left would say, you tax it, you take away from what people used to have. I totally and completely disagree with that.
What do you think? Then what is your case?
Because
how
I
do
don't.
you reparations then?
There's no reparations. I believe in opportunity. Instead of trying to fix the past, which will never happen, which is a horrible idea, you create a better future.
It'll never happen with that.
No, because you know why? Any country that's ever tried reparations has failed miserably. South Africa,
Never
for
works.
example. They've tried reparations the last 30 years. They're more racially divided on the brink of civil war than they ever have been.
Yeah.
Do you think we're on the brink of civil war?
I hope not.
You think so?
No, I said I hope not.
But I asked if you think so.
No, I don't think we are. But it's people on the left that want us to be more divided than not.
No, I think it's like
Yeah.
you.
No,
You're
because-
here trying to divide people.
Hold on a second. Do you support black-only dormitories?
Sure.
You do? Okay. That's resegregation. You realize that?
No, I think if black people want to do that, we should allow them to because they have to face a
Well, then would you support white-only dormitories?
No, I wouldn't.
Why?
Because pretty much the school is white only. Pretty much every dormitory is white only.
I don't know the demographic makeup of Oregon, but looking around, I'd say it's a more diverse campus than just being
I
a
would say
white-only
if
campus.
black people want, yeah.
So you believe in black-only graduation ceremonies at Harvard?
If they want that, sure.
So-
Why do I care? Why does it bug me?
Well, it should bug you that we're
No.
resegregating
No, it
parts of the
doesn't bug me.
population.
There's a difference.
That
It's
people
totally
marched in this.
different.
What's the
One thing
difference?
if white people say that black people have to be separate.
What's the difference
If
of skin color? What's the difference between a white person and a black
I was
person?
trying to tell you.
Tell me what's the difference between a white person and a black person.
I don't know. I'm not.
There's no difference. They're both
No,
human beings. They're
they're
only
like
one race, the
treated
human
differently.
race.
They're
They're-
treated differently.
Students is
How are they
confused.
treated differently? Give me one piece of evidence. What can a black person not do in America that I can do?
They get treated differently by the police, and I've seen it.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though the data shows that a black person.
Data can be used to lie.
Wait, so facts don't matter,
Police
essentially.
departments are actually capable of policing their own records, so
Yeah.
the ability.
Even though most of the inner city police forces are black majority police forces,
Are they?
Okay,
such
that's
as Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a 44% black city with a 56% black police
That
force.
bugs you?
No, it actually gives me happiness. That
Really?
yeah, because I care about all people, and I don't look at people based on race like you
So
do.
you're post-racial?
Absolutely.
Because it does. That
You're
does
not. You're the one
exist.
that wants black-only graduation ceremonies and black-only dormitories.
what I said.
You're okay with that? I'm not okay with that.
Yeah, because
We desegregated America.
Because that argument works for you, and it's not desegregated.
It's not.
There's still a lot of problems, and like to say that if people want to have.
But the problems are not based on race.
Yeah, they are. There's
You
tons
have-
of racial problems in America.
You have yet to give me any evidence or data or one piece
Do
of
you
example.
believe that there are any racial problems?
Individually, absolutely. Are there individually committed people that are racist 100%?
Do
And
you
is the
believe
president
that
one
there
of
are
them?
No.
systemic
President
racial
Trump is one of the
issues?
least racist people in America.
Whatever.
Do you
Say
believe
don't
that-
like facts.
No, give me one evidence that he's racist.
How about he got caught discriminating against giving out
Complete and
housing?
total false, not true whatsoever.
Okay,
Would-
so
would-
you can not believe facts.
Wait, no.
whenever you
Would
want.
a
Okay.
racist president such as President Donald Trump put a black woman as the
That
first
doesn't-
Army sergeant
that is not
ever
a
in the
real
history of the United
argument.
States Army?
That I'm
Would
not
it-
racist because I have a black friend argument.
The first
doesn't
Army
fly.
sergeant.
so at
No,
what-
the
That's
first
not
Army sergeant ever in the
Impl-
history of the
fir-
U.S. Army.
the
That's
woman-
not true.
The first woman battalion commander, you can look
Oh,
it up.
okay, battalion
Confirmed by
commander
the
is
United
different than
States
a
Senate.
sergeant.
The first black woman confirmed by the United States Senate in a position of the United States Army ever. Here's a very simple
Okay.
question for you. At what point does someone stop being a racist in your mind?
I haven't thought about it.
You haven't thought, but yet you're quick to label, but you're not quick to retract or have a line in your head. That's pretty dangerous,
maybe
isn't
when
it?
they die.
Is it crazy?
When they
guy?
die. That's pretty sinister. Do you think I'm a racist?
Yeah.
No, hold on a second. He thinks I'm a racist. Why would you say I'm a racist?
just the stuff you're saying.
Name one thing I've said that's ever racist.
Whatever, I'm not gonna play that game with you.
He doesn't need a hype guy. He doesn't need a hype guy. He's doing good on his own.
I said, these two guys at the end of this video, they are very crazy. I don't know why Charlie was even talking with them in the first place. The guy is clearly wearing the rainbow shirts, which means is purely a liberal, is a left wing, and he supports the LGBTQ movement. Number one, such people don't think straight. I said, literally everyone who spoke right here about critical race theory, the white people are racist, they are all white people. And I don't know why they're feeling inferior about the skin and saying the black have lost 150 years, that they have been treated poorly, that they are the ones who are the victims, and trying to, I don't know how, is it to pamper the black people? That's crazy as bullshit, guys. Because the Constitution of America was never written in Korea. But why is Korea, Asians in America, the most richest and most successful people in America? The Constitution was never written in Korea. Why are they the richest and most successful? Why? Family. You see, America right now, for me, what I've seen and observed so far in America is that they have so much neglected what it means to have family, neglected the importance of family. So, and that itself is what is ruining America every single time. Check stats. Family is the most crucial thing to build a society. And when family does not have a balance, society will never have a balance. It's as simple as that. There's no way of patching or covering up. It's as simple as that. The black societies, the black culture, right now that we are all seeing, they are neglecting fathers. They are neglecting the full definition of having a family. Single motherhood is being subsidized and glorified. By doing that, you are actually ruining the family more than trying to help the black communities that these people are all speaking about. So you say they have taken away 150 years from the black families. Okay, they were all enslaved. We know that. It has happened. It's past. That does not mean someone who were enslaved can do better. You understand? The funny thing is that the people who enslaved them or who were enslaved are not alive anymore. There is no one you can show me that ever owned a slave, or anyone you can show me that was a slave that exists again in this world. They are literally all dead. So where is the victimhood coming from, or where is the aspect of they are a victim? They have been enslaved since. None of them were ever enslaved. Every single person who's going to come out and speak and say critical race theory, the black have been oppressed, the black were enslaved, they were never enslaved. They were never enslaved. To top it up, people who are coming into America right now, black people, let me don't go outside. Black people who are coming to America right now are more than people who were enslaved or who were taken away from their hometown during the 18th or 17th centuries. There are more. Why are there more? Because people are leaving their hometown for a better life in America. The same America that's saying they are racist, they are terrible people, they are against black people. The same black people are leaving their hometown in Nigeria, Ghana, South Africans, and also other African countries and coming to America to base. Why? Tell me why. If America is that racist, then why are they coming? It's as crazy as that. And the entire video right here is I was seeing white people who were taught introduction to sociology, the first class. They are just speaking out, black are being oppressed, black are being enslaved, without backing the facts right. And that's why I love that Charlie is coming to all these campuses, because it's coming to put them straight and tell them how it works. You see, a lot of them are crazy, and a lot of them are very, very delusional, and a lot of them a lot of them are liberals. It's obvious. You can see it. A lot of them are liberals. They end up insulting Charlie at the ending of their conversation. They just tend to insult him because they feel like they don't have any points to say about what they're trying to defend. They don't have anything else to say because Charlie is right. They can see it clearly that Charlie is right. So in order for them to feel like, oh, they're not being embarrassed or they're not feeling stupid, they tend to insult Charlie every single time. Every single one of them, they have the bitterness or pain in them, whereas they are not the black, but they're speaking for the black. The feeling that the black has been oppressed. The funny thing that the stats shows, the analysis shows that families that have been broken is what matters. You understand? There are 3 ways for you to be successful in America. Number 1, graduate from college. Number 2, get a job. Number 3, marry before you pregnant someone else's daughter. It's as simple as that. But check 3 of them. Black people, a lot of black people don't do that. They always break one of those rules. Either they are glorifying motherhood. Most of them, baby mamas everywhere. Why? Why? Tell me why. Baby mamas, every single place is baby mamas. A lot of them don't want to have a job. It's crazy, but it's what is happening. People are seeing the truth and they choose to neglect it. There's a lot of all these laborers that came out right here to speak. They know the truth, but they're choosing to ignore it and blaming police brutality. I'm not lying that there are some racist cops. It happens. Some black people are also racist. Do you understand? So, victimizing or giving that black people that aspect of that the victim is crazy. It's crazy as fuck. Let me use that word. Pardon me. Because black people are also racist in America. But people don't talk about it. And black people feel like they cannot be racist. But they are racist. A lot of black people are racist. Do you understand? So it's crazy for me watching this video and seeing a lot of laborers who are delusional and brainwashed, who just came to class first introduction to sociology, are feeling like you know everything about history, about black people and what's happening. It's crazy. The black are not oppressed. There is nothing a white man can do in America currently that we are living in that a black man cannot do. There's nothing a white man can do that a black man cannot do. We are all seeing it, and it's obvious. You understand? So it's shocking to me that people still think this way backward. They are not choosing to see the future. They're not choosing to see exactly what is happening in America. The situation we're all passing through in America. The fact, the truth of the matter is that black people have to have a stable family back. They have to have that thing called a family, strong and solid. Asians, I keep on using this. Asians, they are different. They know what it means to have a backing of a family. They know what it means to have a family. They know the importance of it. That family means everything. You understand? But for currently, black people don't think that way anymore. For me, what I've seen so far in America, black people don't think that way anymore. It's obvious. You can see it clearly. And Charlie always coming out to speak to these laborers and left wing, but they are still not seeing the clear picture. Comment down below to think about this video. Give us a thumbs up. Share this video as many as you can. Subscribe to our channel, guys. You know how it is. We'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure you stay safe.